Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and this might be something you missed. Remember when PNC Bank announced that they were going to get into crypto?
Coinbase is our backbone.
This is the PNC Bank CEO, I think.
On that backbone, if there is an industry-led stablecoin, it could be traded in that wallet. We're not going to produce a stablecoin per se, certainly not in our own name, but we'll be a wallet, a provider for any coin that any of our clients want to use.
And so he said Coinbase is our backbone, and he's referring to Coinbase Prime, which is Coinbase Institutional Custody. If it's good enough for PNC Bank, it's good enough for me. Guess who uses Coinbase Prime as one of their 3 custodians? That would be iTrustCapital, my partner. This kind of stuff is there. I mean, there's a tiny handful of places where you can get institutional grade custody as a retail investor, and iTrustCapital is probably one of my favorites, top 2 anyway. So that's I mean, I don't have to worry every night when I go to sleep what I'm dealing with as far as my crypto being safe. You can go to iTrustCapital.com/XRP Army. You can, if you're opening a new account, there's a promo code that'll give you $100 funding bonus as well. And you can open, if you want to open an IRA or a Roth IRA, SEP IRA, I have IRAs there. Or you can open a premium custody account, which is a regular account, and you can send your XRP right into it. The market is kind of boring, down a little bit, nothing special to look at there. Here's the most interesting thing going on in crypto, and you got to hear it. This right here, and then I'm going to show you what's behind it. This is Caitlyn Long. For years, she's a Bitcoin maxi, but for years, she's been pretty neutral. She's been in Switzerland mostly when it comes to Ripple and XRP, but she comes out swinging in this clip, and then I'm going to show you why.
Tether, and it looks like Ripple, the Ripple network is been blessed for a variety of reasons. If you're happy to push back on me about that, I'm just reading what I see. So I'm not. I bring it up and everybody's like, you're shilling for Ripple again. I'm not shilling for anything, folks.
I don't mind that. I think it overstates how important that network is. Part of the problem is the banks have always been suspicious of it.
Right.
Because it is a centralized network. And the tokenomics are backwards.
Now, by the way, as you listen to her talk about the tokenomics of XRP, I'm going to remind you after this about the tokenomics of Ethereum, which she apparently has no problem with.
Right. So step back. In creating these tokenization platforms, the people who extracted money up front are never going to be trusted, because everybody's going to look and think that anything that they do is an exit scam.
So Ripple is not going to be trusted, according to Caitlyn Long.
To try to dump on retail. Okay, the most effective tokenization platforms are the ones where there was no money up front or very little money up front, and that's Bitcoin and Ethereum. So it's really...
Okay, so she's including Ethereum in that. These are good guys. They didn't do anything wrong, but Ripple did.
That simple. I don't think you're ever going to get the trust because of all that money that got...
Let's stop there. I'm coming back to this. So Ethereum did it right, according to her. This guy right here, this is back when we were uncovering Ethgate. This is Lane Reddig, former Ethereum core developer on the Iwasum team, whatever that is, at the Ethereum Foundation. This is what he says about Ethereum and Joe Lubin and the whales and who they are.
I said, I'm going to keep an open mind. I don't care what they pay me. I don't care if they pay me. I want to maximize learning. I want to travel. And thank you, Ethereum Foundation, for giving me the opportunity to do that. It was very eye-opening. But after a year, 18 months, I was like, holy shit, like, what am I really doing here? I'm really pumping Joe Lubin's backs. All due respect to Joe Lubin and all the other, Ethereum whales. It's just not what I want to do. And the reason for that was largely the premine, right? Because at that moment, 70%, 70% of all the Ether in existence as of a couple years ago had been distributed in the premine. Today it's about 60%. It's been diluted a little bit, right? So I don't know.
Notice how none of these people, Caitlyn Long, nobody, Tom Lee, none of them, they never talk about that Ethereum ICO, because that's where all the bodies are buried.
Where you draw, I don't know what the right number is. I mean, we will never have another Bitcoin. We'll never have another immaculate conception. Again, I don't know if the right number is 10%, 15%, 20%. You could draw the line wherever you want. 70, 80, 70, 60 it's too much. It's just too much by almost an order of magnitude.
And who are the biggest holders within that? I know Vitalik, but I don't.
Vitalik's holdings are public, by the way. He's very transparent.
And I don't. The strange thing about Vitalik is I don't see him as financially driven.
It's just not. Trust me.
Remember the video where Vitalik said that they sold, I think it was, I want to say it was 10,000. He ordered the Ethereum Foundation to sell, I think it was 10,000 Ethereum, so that they could make their runway longer.
You know him? He's not.
Yeah. Whereas Joe Lubin clearly is.
He's a businessman.
Yeah. So Vitalik, Joe Lubin, who are the other key? Charles Hoskinson, perhaps.
I mean, here's the thing: we other than the very small number of people like Vitalik who are public, also the Ethereum Foundation multi-sig wallet address is public. We don't know.
Okay.
We don't know. I can assume that the people who happen to be the crypto bros that happened to be in the room at that time, and the very small number of investors who kind of got Ethereum circa 2015 did very well.
Okay.
Right.
All right. So you've joined the foundation.
But the point is, it's on the order of a few hundred people, maybe 1,000, maybe a couple thousand.
Let me restate that. It's on the order of a few hundred VCs, banks, major players who were all disguised intentionally so that it appeared like this thing was a decentralized sale.
1,000 people. It's a very small number of people.
But within that, there's a few who have very significant interest.
Yeah, it's a very long tail. And, I've heard rumors, this is totally anecdotal, that a very small number of individuals, like one or two-ish people, single-handedly bought up very large percentages of the premine, basically the ICO, because they were able to participate pseudonymously. There were no limits.
And don't forget, Tom Lee, who the Ethereum people are trotting out on every network that they can find to talk about how he's a big Ethereum whale and how great Ethereum is. Where did Tom Lee come from? JP Morgan. How do I know this? Because I looked it up, and then I mentioned it right in the middle of Ethgate, and Tom Lee blocked me. So, back to Caitlyn Long.
Raised up front. That was the first of the ICOs in their case. And that's, they've been at this longer than almost anybody else. And they haven't made a lot of progress. And now what did they try to do? Instead of trying to sell that into the banking industry, they're getting their own regulated financial institutions and trying to issue a stable coin. So that's kind of, in some ways, an admission that the base layer blockchain didn't get the adoption that they were looking for. Now, I'm
feeling dumber and dumber while listening to this. She doesn't realize the stable coin that Ripple issued, every transaction that RLUSD ever does will burn some of the XRP. It is the ultimate tokenomics. And then everything else that is tokenized on the XRP ledger will also burn XRP in their transactions. How about them apples? Talk about and I don't think it's a lack of understanding. I think this is intentional misinformation.
I'll also say the Biden administration was a big part of that, right? By forcing it offshore and saying, you can't, basically, this is the SEC, Gary Gensler, trying to use that because it was the obvious case since it was the first ICO to say that was an illegal securities offering, right?
Nope. XRP was not an ICO. Not only was it not an ICO, Vitalik Buterin himself, as I recall, we have a video where he says that Ethereum was the first ICO. We've got multiple people that said Ethereum was the first ICO.
Going after that. And that hamstrung them. It didn't hurt Ripple as much as the Fed hurt us, right? Everybody who was targeted by the Biden administration was hurt to varying degrees.
Ripple was not hurt as bad as she was hurt? Are you kidding me?
Right.
So, but I'm acknowledging that for the XRP army that's going to come after me for
Yes,
saying
you're
something.
right about, they're not going to come after you for the sake of coming after you. They're going to come after you to point out the facts versus the things that aren't true.
I think rational about it, that it's not going to take over. It's not. If it were going to take over, it would have taken over a long time ago. And now they've actually pivoted to issuing US dollar stablecoins on the network, which kind of tells you that they understand that the base layer network is not going to become the base.
It's exactly the opposite. This was the plan all along.
Layer of, of replacing SWIFT. And part of it is because of those tokenomics. But that said, I mean, I think...
Man, God, the level... makes me want to vomit on the laptop here.
Part of the reason Ethereum is running, the price has run a lot, is because when the U.S. Treasury decides which permissionless network it's going to tokenize T-bills on, and by the way, they've of course not announced this. I'm speculating based on something.
She needs to talk to Ondo Finance.
That I heard this is coming. They're not going to use Ripple. They're going to use Ethereum. They may use Bitcoin, but the Bitcoin layer 2s are not mature enough for something like that, right? They've got to think like a bank. And the most mature blockchain platform by far for this type of issuance is Ethereum.
No, Ethereum's matured for issuing cartoon monkeys. They're not more mature than the Ripple network for this stuff.
Solana's coming up, but it's so centralized. I don't know that the U.S. government would want to take that risk.
Oh man, she's something else. Well, Ashley Prosper starts hitting over the target. Sounds like Caitlyn Long is mad that Ripple will get their Fed master account before Custodia Bank. Add to that the 42 banks that came together to try to stop Ripple's banking license, and you start to see the big picture. Ripple is going to change the game, folks. The whole Ethgate thing was directly over the target, and it's still in process. Make no mistake about it. You don't have to take my word for it, or Ashley Prosper's word for it, because the mystery is now solved. Caitlyn Long has remained pretty neutral with regard to Ripple, and she came out swinging recently. Want to know why? Ripple applied for the Fed master account. She's been playing checkers while Ripple's playing chess. Watch to the end.
And literally only 2 of these novel entities have gotten through, and they both had Fed insiders associated with them. I'm watching, by the way, because Ripple, Michael Barr, who we just talked about, was an advisor to Ripple before he went to the Fed. Right. And he was vice chair for supervision. So let's see if that trend, that companies that have former vice chairs for supervision associated with them get through and everybody else gets held back. Let's see if that turns out to be a trend.
Okay, I'm not going to play the whole video, but I do want you to hear the end, because you'll find out. Let me see, it's right towards the end here. I think it's right in here.
This is a model that we had the whole time.
Nope, I think it's right here.
The banks have a much higher capital requirement.
Is it frustrating to see all these other companies potentially leapfrogging the process, and you've been in this sort of limbo, as it were, for 5 years?
I mean, candidly, it's funny to look at it all now because they're all trying to copy the business model that we had the whole time, right? If there were justice, and if there were rule of law, then we wouldn't be in this situation. And
okay, so she's a little bit angry about Ripple coming in. Now, wanted to point this out to you as well. She and Cynthia Loomis are both from Wyoming, and there are no coincidences. Remember this? When Brad Garlinghouse tweeted this, that said, Senator Loomis, as chair of the Digital Asset Subcommittee, canceled a meeting with me and won't reschedule. As a leader in Congress, senator from one of the most crypto-friendly states, I hope you'll reconsider and be a leader for all of crypto. So digital currency wars are still going on, folks. Okay? By the way, turns out Mike Novogratz, Galaxy Digital, holds $34 million in XRP. I guess it took Novogratz a decade to understand XRP. Remember this video when he went on CNBC? And he said, I just don't get it. I just don't understand. And his CNBC friends went right along with him. Well, either he now understands XRP, it took him a decade, or was it seeing his government friends' XRP roadblocks removed? Remember when he bet dimes to donuts that Bill Hinman would do exactly what he did? SBI Holdings has filed to launch a Bitcoin and XRP ETFs. The writing is on the wall, folks. I'll finish with this because it's hilarious to me. Today, CryptoPunk number 1021 sold for 720 Ethereum, $2.5 million. Are NFTs back? Well, if they're back for all the clowns out there, they're not back for the digital asset investor. You will never, ever see me buy a cartoon monkey or a cartoon anything. If it's not backed by something with actually worth something, I'd take that $2.5 million and buy XRP or land before I would buy some cartoon bullcrap. Okay, we're going into DAIXRP.com. We got a lot more. That's the Patreon. If you'd rather join through YouTube, click the join button below any of my videos. If you'd rather join through X, hit subscribe. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe, hit the like button, tell your friends and family. Away we go.